Thank you for joining us. I'm calling this meeting to order. This is the MPO, otherwise known as the Metropolitan Planning Organization Policy Committee. Today's September the 17th, 2018, and it's 1:34. No, I'm sorry, 1:34 p.m. We're meeting here at 1110 Houston Street, which is the City Council chambers. We need roll call, please. Present.
Webb County Judge Tano Itejirena.
Present.
City Councilman Charlie San Miguel. City Council Member George Algeld.
Present.
City Council Member Roberto Valli. Webb County Commissioner Jesse Gonzalez. Webb County Commissioner John Galo.
Present.
District Engineer David M. Salazar. And District Administrator Melissa Montemayor.
Present.
For the record, you do have a quorum.
We do have a quorum, so we need to proceed. Proceeding to item 3, citizens' comments. Anyone wishing to speak, please come forward at this time. I see no one approaching the dais, so we're moving on. Item 4, these are the items requiring policy committee action, possibly. The approval of the minutes for the meeting held on August 20th, 2018. What says the committee?
There's no changes, so moved.
Okay, we don't have any changes and none were reflected. There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. A discussion. None heard. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against say no. None heard. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next item is discussion with possible action on the River Road project. This has been ongoing. I did communicate, at least I texted Mr. Albert Mueller, and I haven't heard from him. I'm suggesting now that maybe we approach his son, Albert Jr., Councilmember Algett. And I know we need their input because it impacts on their property one way or the other. We'll know directly, I think, based on the information that we got or the meeting that we had. And you may want to expand on that too, to kind of bring this to
Yes, sir.
some sort of a head here.
Yeah, so there is a small parcel of land that's owned by Mueller Development Ltd., I believe, that but for their agreement to donate or dedicate that right of way, the entire Riverview Road project, it can't come to fruition. And so the River Road project essentially is the cities and hopefully counties and hopefully TxDOT's answer to the Mines Road traffic conundrum, which is since the failed farm to market policy, if you will, and the failed zoning by politics policy has failed, we need this alternate route to get non-commercial traffic in and around through the Mines Road area, and the Mr. Mueller kind of is the key to unlocking this this route. And I agree with your assessment that it's probably time to go ahead and get the lawyers involved. And his son is a lawyer. And I've visited with him on other matters previously, and he seems like someone that could be that's approachable and who might shed some light on this. But I think Mr. Mueller was very clear that he definitely wanted
He did. He expressed that.
He
was waiting for September, and I
right.
did reach out to him.
And so, if you will defer to you, I guess, in reaching out to Albert Mueller the third, or is it Junior? I forget.
Can't recall. Well, his son.
Right, his son. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
okay.
And then hopefully we'll have some positive news in the near future, because this road, like all the other roads, we need them yesterday.
But I was clear also when I approached by text Mr. Mueller that it would be myself and the city manager that we would explain basically what we needed, and then it would take us to the next level, which would be the entire community there, once we had at least some notion as to what he was willing to do or not do.
And can we add? I guess then what I would add is if we could have a little bit of action here. I would move that we have TxDOT make a presentation to us as to available funds for this relief route, which is a response to the FM 1472 gridlock. And since we are essentially addressing the traffic problems with 1472 through this alternate route, it would seem fair that TxDOT and or this body possibly would have some funds available to have this route come to fruition. Is that a fair request?
Second for discussion.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Go ahead, sir.
Do we need to do this?
Well, I can give you a little purview of what that discussion would sound like. So that road is an all-system road. Yes, it's a road that actually TxDOT, we talked about 20 years ago as an alternate to Mines Road to relieve traffic. Nevertheless, it's an all-system road. The types of funding that we have are mainly for on-system projects. The type of money that we have for off-system roads, or can be used for off-system roads, were like the CBI money that we're tapped on now. That could be used for off-system roads. The Rider 11B, we're being basically told by our division that's for on-system type facilities as well. And then we have a category called Category 11, which is what we call district discretionary. It's discretionary in that we can use it for several types of projects, although the roadway, like we used it years ago on McGonaghy Road when we rehabbed that roadway, but the only way we were able to use it on that existing roadway, McGonaghy is a county road, is because it was classified as a functional classification 5. Being that the road carried a substantial amount of traffic, there were some traffic generators at the end of the road, and so we were allowed by by our financial planners in Austin to use that discretionary on what was called a county road, all-system road, because of the classification of the roadway. Now, we only get about $2.7 million of that type of roadway a year, and that also happens to be the type of money that we use for striping our roadways, for guardrail, other safety type projects. The Category 7 money is one that can be used off system. That's what the MPO is slated to use on the Achar Road. Now, if you look at that money over the next several years, that money is basically committed to Achar Road until about half of the year 2024. So from now to 23, all the Cat 7 is slated to be used to construct Achar Road, and then a little bit is needed of that Cat 7 money in 2024. So, that fund is tapped until about that year. But then after that, half of 2024 is available depending on what the MPO wants to use that Category 7 money on.
Well, if we can at least secure the right of way, and then you're gonna have to do your environmental. So I think by that time
We'll be there.
we can
We'll be
find
there.
some buddies, and I think it's gonna be a priority for everybody.
For that Cat 7.
Keep in mind, to the Border Patrol, I think weren't they gonna basically look at the route and see if they could
Right.
enhance it or improve it?
One of the last meetings we had, Mr. Elwin Sherman indicated that the Border Patrol would be very interested in being part of the discussion and the alignment of the route, and they were obviously hesitant about any sort of commitment and frankly didn't really have much of a bearing as to financial participation, but it seems that there's certainly a security and tactical reason for them wanting to have presence and say along that route, and possibly then therefore contribute accordingly. But I think that it's something squarely in our wheelhouse that we need to consider because of just how slow things are to come about, and how 1472 is the farm to market, even though it ought to be it has interstate traffic numbers. And so how do you know, how do we get 1472 to go ahead and grow up and get built out? And at the same time, we know that's gonna take a while, and this alternate route, might be something that's very cost effective.
If I could ask-
Following on,
I just wanted to say, so is that the only piece we're missing? All the rest of the landowners are willing to donate?
just
Be-
about-
Between Cantu Road, which is the Pico Water Treatment
Yeah.
Plant, and, Aquero, if you will, or Riverbank Road, yeah, everybody has, expressed verbally, a willingness. They're in agreement to commit it to writing, but everyone's kind of waiting for, what sort of traction, the mayor gets in talking to Albert.
Yeah, we'll try some this time and see if.
See if that's a
And I'll
better
try
approach.
the father as well.
What were your
You know,
thoughts
he may
on that,
have-
though?
No, I was just gonna
Reason
say, I
not to.
mean, you know, obviously, I think, you know, I would think that would be beneficial to Mr. Muller. I know they have the La Bota, and I don't know how it lines up in the back, and they have, you know, still more commercial property. So, I mean, Cookie, usually, you could usually find her, and Little Albert, and, I don't know, is he here or is he in Houston?
I thought he was in Houston.
Yeah, and then they have a daughter also, I don't know who's handling everything, but.
I think he's their quarterback on this.
Okay, we'll try that venue.
And, you know, Mayor, from a TxDOT perspective, it's a viable project. I mean, we looked at that 15 years ago. You know, 15 years ago, I think the timing wasn't quite right, but I think now it is, and I think y'all are making a lot of leeway, you know, speaking with the landowners, so, yeah, it does have, a lot of potential for alleviating traffic on Mines Road.
Yeah, let me ask you this.
And expanding the county's and the city's tax base in a much more
Definitely.
meaningful way than it just being, you know, locked between the river and, the warehouses and Mines Road.
So apparently there's an interest there, so since Border Patrol is also very much interested in aligning to their needs and possibly even attracting federal monies,
I mean, there's grants that become available, you know, 2 or 3 times a year, so,
Yeah,
you know, that's available as well.
They have a joint task force where they may help you in paving and things like that.
Well,
There's gotta be programs.
so how do we?
They've put in a lot of all-weather roads throughout that area already. And they've put in recently some all-weather roads, south of Zacate Creek. I mean, they're looking at the, I guess, the virtual wall, a little more diligently and taking action towards a virtual wall as opposed to an actual wall, because just the costs are so, disparate between those two ideas.
Well, let's just concentrate on the right of way. I mean, that's the first thing, because, I mean, it's all,
Right.
And if that's the case, then who
Right.
approaches Border
It's
Patrol?
first base. First base is, okay, do we have commitment on,
well, I'm saying,
Right of way.
if we get right of way, then we, you know,
No, but to
push
get the
comes to
right-
shove, we find a way to fund it. But if you have right of way, it doesn't matter if we have all the money in the world.
yeah, you don't have a starting point for a conversation.
No, but to get to the right of way, we need Border Patrol on board to say,
You know,
No,
just get the right of way.
well, this section of right-of-way, which the Border Patrol's already using, for their
yeah,
access.
but they thought that maybe, you know, for their purposes, they could move it further closer to the river.
Right, but on this particular section, because of the elevations and the floodplain, they're already using that section of the right-of-way as is.
Okay.
As it relates to those other sections, as you go upriver, there's where they're wanting to have that footprint be closer to the ridge line so that they've got the lines of sight towards the river.
Okay, so what do we do then?
You need to make phone calls.
Huh?
You need to make phone calls.
Okay, we'll start then and proceed, but you had a motion.
I did have a motion and a second, I guess, to, I would ideally, TxDOT would come back with, a much more, I guess, formulated, roadmap, if you will, on if we had the right of way, you know, what funds are available, how can we pay for it?
Well-
Maybe we take, you know, a little bit from, you know, HR, maybe we take a little bit from here and there to, you know, resources around.
Let's
I
finish
don't
one.
know.
Let's finish
Good
one
news-
road, please.
Good news that the RMA,
Forget it,
remember,
finish
is
one,
going
you're
to
right.
start that Northwest Regional Study,
Mhm.
and that's gonna encompass that area, Councilman. So I think we're gonna get a lot of good information in terms
Yeah.
of those types of alternatives and costs associated with that. And that's part of the money that, you know, the CBI, the very last part of the CBI money is going into that study. And so we should, I mean, and I don't know if Tony can give us an update on that, you know, during the open comments period, but that study is gonna give us a lot of information on projects such as that.
Do we have a time estimate on when that study's supposed to be completed?
Yeah, do you want to come up since it involves that area, Mr. Rodriguez? And I know you're covering the RMA and all sorts of things, yeah.
With regards to the transportation planning study, we're still awaiting execution of the advanced funding agreement. Pretty much the RMA is ready to mobilize to move forward with it. I think the last discussion I had with TxDOT on it, it's still in discussion and draft in Austin right now.
Correct.
That's really the only item we're waiting on. The RMA is ready to pull the trigger to get.
So what's holding up the approval of the AFA?
I think it's just the process.
It's just processing the
Yes.
agreement. I would say by the beginning of October, they'll be ready to hit the ground running.
And if it gets executed this month,
Yeah,
we
for
will
the record,
execute it in
yeah.
October.
David,
So this is just sitting, I guess, on a lawyer's desk up in Austin
For review, there's two parts to a risk assessment that have to be done and reviewed. And then, of course, the agreement executed. So it's normal processing. Like I said, I would imagine by October we'll be done.
Yeah.
Can we add this to the scope of the study, or is it already part of it?
With regards to River Road?
Uh-huh.
Where?
So it's within the scope of area of actual study for regard to developing an order of magnitude cost estimate as well as right of acquisition, to develop the actual footprint.
So you all can't get to work on this until you've got assigned AFA.
Yes, that's basically it. Otherwise, the RMA risks.
All right. Well, then I'll probably just, I mean, unless y'all think otherwise, I mean, should I withdraw the motion, let the TxDOT wheels turn?
Let the study evolve.
Because it's part of the study anyways. Part of the effort is also reaching out to any studies that have already been done in place, like River Road. I believe the developer's already done a lot of good work on that.
Mhm.
And we would definitely be reviewing that work and incorporating as part of the.
Mayor, I will withdraw my second.
Okay. And if that's the case, there's no motion on the table. For the record, Mr. Salazar is not with us, David Salazar. Thank you, sir.
I just for my own edification, I mean, can y'all call up to the main office in TxDOT and
Oh, yeah, no.
like, hey, like, so.
Oh, Councilman, we have been, our contract specialists have been on this one, and trust me, there's communication probably every third day.
Okay. Okay, very well, thank you.
Yeah, since you're up, do you want to do your report?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's it.
And that's the,
What's it?
item B, yeah, B, Roman numeral 5B. Is there a motion we bring that up?
So moved.
There's a motion and a second by Judge Tijerina. A discussion not heard. All those in favor say aye. All those against say no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Once again, thank you for allowing me to be up here to give you a report on the RMA. Next week, we'll have our board meeting, in which case we will be executing the Los Presidentes PSNE project, which was approved for funding by City Council in August 13th workshop. I believe as part of the overall capital improvement program for FY19, which I believe is getting finalized today. So we'll be executing that, and that work will get to work immediately. Once again, thank you again, Mr. Mayor and Councilman Elkelt and others for that. We'll also be reviewing the draft of the local agreements.
Yeah, this is, for the people in the south, this is going to be a tremendous benefit to that area. And of course, the judge and Commissioner Gonzalez also very much in favor of that.
Yes, Be Los Presidentes from Concord Hills to Cuatro Vientos.
Yeah, I don't want to speak for you, but I would presume that's your notion as well.
Yes, our subconsultant Crane Engineering they've done most of the legwork on the project, and they'll be doing probably about 95% of the design. H&TB will only really we'll just be overseeing them and also the environmental due diligence on it. Other items we'll be talking about next week will be the draft and the local agreements, part of it for Los Presidentes, as well as the Killam Industrial Turn Lanes project. And last but definitely not least is Viacio Road Pass-Through Finance. Those will be for review by the board for next week. On Viacio Road, we're in the process of scheduling a meeting with the Killam Company within the next 2 weeks to definitely finalize their commitment to move forward with that project. And once that is in place, the next step would be moving forward with pass-through finance work, which would be an update to that work authorization with the RMA. And we're very excited to finally get that get that back on track too. Other items that we still have on our schedule to do, and apologize it hasn't happened yet, but we would still like to make a presentation to City Council with the Loop 20 South Transportation and Investment Zone study that the city approved to move forward back in September 19th of last year, and was completed and presented to the board earlier this year and also to this body. But we still want to make a presentation to all of City Council. We're looking at the October 15th City Council session, and I will work with City
Yes,
Council for scheduling on that agenda.
Ms. Collazo, could you jot that down so we can put it on the agenda? Thank you.
So those are the immediate items we've got going on. With regards to killing industrial turn lanes, we are looking for execution of that, PSNE work authorization, and the October board meeting as well, to get work on that as well.
Mr. Mayor, may I
Yes, sir, go.
may I ask some questions? So Rodriguez, we're talking about that study right now. How long will that study take?
7 months, 7 to 8 months max.
Where are we at in that process?
That's what we just talked about, Judge, is that we're awaiting execution of the advanced learning agreement. Once we have that, that's in draft format right now with TxDOT. What Ms. Montemayor just said is that it should be ready by October. We would execute it in October. At the RMA, we get going in October on it. So that's the only thing we've been waiting. The only reason we haven't been able to start, Judge, is that to move forward without the execution of the AFA, we would put in jeopardy the funds that were allocated for that study.
We're looking at the study to come out in April then.
Sorry?
In April?
I gotta look at my schedule again. If we could be able to do it in 8 months, 7, 8 months, starting October, that would push us, hold on, my math is, it'd probably be April, May-ish is what we'd be looking at. You'll be hearing about it, Judge. Once we get executed, we'll be reaching out, doing stakeholder outreach meetings as well as public meetings as well. And we'll definitely be including members of this policy committee to participate in that.
And for the benefit of the public, just briefly, it's a study that would encompass all the traffic needs of the area, basically from 35 to Camino Colombia down to Columbia Bridge and then down to the river area.
That's correct, Mayor. Basically, what
35,
it spans is from north of Loop 20 or I-69 west, all the way up to north to Camino Colombia, and also bounded by the Rio Grande on the west and I-35 on the east, so that big triangular trunk area. To look at both on-system and off-system possible relief routes for the entire to account for future development as well as current traffic conditions.
Okay, I heard also too that Mr. Danny Rios is working. Huh? But, are they doing something similar with you all, TxDOT? I'd heard that possibly
They're working on our I-35 schematic and PSNE package.
okay, is that something that they'll be able to tap into, or how is that gonna be coordinated?
Well, I mean,
For us not to duplicate.
that's kind of that project's ongoing, Mayor, the I-35 projects. We have several projects that are already funded along that corridor. And then they're working on the ultimate schematic for, main lane portions and other improvements, basically from mile marker 6 here in Laredo, all the way to mile marker 30, which is just north of the check station, the Border Patrol check station.
And that's really my point. I mean, it encompasses part of that area, that 35.
It's the boundary.
Yeah, can we share some of that,
Oh,
or?
of course.
Yeah, okay.
Yes,
S&B actually, I believe, are coming, mile marker 7 to mile marker 18 is their
Yes,
area?
that's correct.
And then 2 other firms are handling the other northern portions.
Three other firms.
And we actually did meet with S&B and TxDOT, I think at the beginning of August, if memory serves, where they did provide us a briefing on where they're at with the schematic. And they're definitely doing a lot of good work. They're accounting for Viacia Road. They definitely have some, and I hope not speaking out of turn, but definitely got some challenging areas over by Carrier, which I think you would be challenging.
No, we're gonna share all that information, Mayor, so there's not any type of reproduction, redoing of any work, so that we come up with a holistic type approach to this.
And I know UP in that area too, do they have studies that possibly we
But
can?
we're working with Union Pacific in the Carrier area, Carrier Uniroyal area, so we're having communications with them. As we develop the schematic and these projects, we have, communications with them probably now on a monthly basis.
Oh, good.
And they have their projects as well that they're working on, and so we're making sure that we know of each other's projects and we coincide with each other's needs.
Okay, with regards to the city, I think another critical component will be reaching out with the city of Laredo to talk about the port study that I believe y'all just recently awarded to LMV, commencement of that project.
Yeah, Mario, if you don't mind, would you come up since he brought up that topic? Could you enlighten us a little bit on that port study, see where we're at? And I think it encompasses all that area as well. And I know I'm putting you in a spot, but that's what management's for.
For the record, Mario Maldonado.
Yes, sir,
Mayor,
welcome.
currently, right now, we're in negotiations with the engineering company that made the proposal. Hopefully, at the, not this coming, tonight's meeting, but at the following meeting, we can have the item ready for council to approve the contract.
Okay, and the nature of the study would be what now, just for
It's
the public?
basically a port study, a study for all international bridge crossings. It's gonna.
Current and proposed, which would include the
On
4-5
traffic-
as well?
Traffic studies, revenue studies, infrastructure improvements also for the port.
Including the 4-5, proposed 4-5?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Thank you.
And the outer loop?
So we get more data.
Well, they're taking that information also into consideration, but, basically, the study was basically to be done for the international bridges.
Councilman, if I may, on the outer loop, we have our own consultant that's currently within the feasibility study stage to verify the alignment that we identified many years ago. And then after that's done, which hopefully won't take too long, we're gonna enter into schematic phase and environmental. So we have a separate consultant, Jacobs, that's working on the outer loop study
Okay.
and schematic.
Because it would seem like you would be wise to counsel or negotiate with this contractor that is part of their analysis, that they factor in the outer loop and the traffic that it potentially could generate.
And and the consultant will be coordinating and getting information also with their consultants, yes.
And along those lines, I think there's already data or studies done by that proponent of the 4-5, the principles behind that 4-5.
Correct.
So possibly we could look at that too and make comparisons,
Correct.
yeah. Okay. Anything else, sir? Yeah, thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
With regards to the RMA, I did believe that pretty much concludes our report, so.
Yeah, do we have any suggestions or comments or questions for the gentleman? Yeah, thank you, Mr. Rodriguez, thank you.
Thank you.
Going back, via chat, Ruthinger Road,
How do we speed it up?
Perez Garcia.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Luis Perez Garcia, Will County Engineer, for the record.
Welcome, sir.
The project update is that we've been asked for additional information regarding the project management teams from TxDOT, and we are responding to that, and we should be able to move forward with the notice to proceed on this project.
Okay, are we talking about the Ruthinger portion or the entire?
We're talking about the Ruthinger portion. The HR portion, I'm not privy to any of the discussion. That's, the city's kind of leading the HR section.
Okay, but are we
I'm only
waiting,
talking about
is,
the Ruthinger, yes, sir.
to your knowledge, and Ms. Guerra, I know you're, or Ms. Collazo, either one. I know Mr. Nathan now is employed by the county, and he was kind of basically informing us on the status of that. But are we just waiting on the Ruthinger portion, or is the Achar portion moving along, or, and how is that
I would
working?
have to get a status update for you for the next
Okay.
meeting.
Yeah,
I
if you don't
have
mind.
any information on it right now.
Yeah, we'd hate for us to be waiting.
I think it's taking us as one item now, right? So all the environmental has to be done all the way to 35?
It has to be unified by the consultant that we're working with. They're going to be the consultant on the HR side also. They will be presenting the unified environmental document for both sections of the road. But when I come to address your group, it's regarding specifically the Ruthinger portion.
Okay,
Well,
so,
how come they're not here to tell us what's going on?
Who's they?
Who's your consultant?
no, he's saying,
Our consultant is Dannenbaum
Uh-huh.
Engineering. We're giving them a notice to proceed. They are also the consultant for the HR section of the road.
Okay. So maybe I missed something, but what is the
No, I
status
think,
of the?
I think what you're missing is TxDOT has now sent us a letter asking for a project manager. Who did we designate as a project manager for the
Once we
record?
designate the project management team, and it's gonna be an in-house team, as soon as we do that, then we will go forward and receive the notice to proceed so that we can engage Dannenbaum, and they may come to the table with us to give you the rest of what's going on with the project.
Have we done that
We're preparing a response right now.
right now? Is a in-house team acceptable?
We'd have to review that information.
Okay.
And this was an in-house team with regard to the county section?
Yeah, county's portion, the residual portion.
What was requested was, a project manager
Mm-hmm.
to manage that contract. And we have not, and Luis, we have not received any type of recommendation as to who you're gonna
Correct.
submit for that.
When do we anticipate that letter being formalized?
We were hoping to formalize it early this week. I was hoping that it would be done by this point, but it hasn't been. It should be moving forward on that
What's
immediately.
holding us back?
Storms and power outages and,
Okay.
and discussion with our legal team.
Well, that's not acceptable. I mean, you just have to designate a person.
Right.
And it's gonna be you, or it's gonna be Mario, who's it gonna be?
Right.
Okay, have you decided who's it
I
gonna be?
believe I'm gonna be the responsible person in charge. The general manager will be Mr. Guillermo Cuellar, and the consultant is Denver Engineering Corporation.
And then we have, because we still have to prepare the letter, and then we have to send it to Tech Dot. They will review the letter, and then they'll tell if it's acceptable or not. And then if it's not acceptable, then it goes back.
Well, hopefully we can discuss these. I mean, you've already asked the question if that's acceptable, and maybe we
Well,
can get a response.
Until they see what you write,
I understand.
they're not gonna tell me anything, and I don't blame them, you know.
And similarly, I guess to the city, I guess we need to find out too if.
Yeah, do we need to do the same thing on our end? Do you need some, do you?
No.
No?
No, we're okay? Yeah,
This was requested of the county.
okay. So we're not holding the train, so to speak, on our end, okay.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. Anything else on that? And if not, moving on to reports, a presentation, discussion on the benefits of transferring US 59 overpass funds and to the frontage roads. This is, Texas is proposing to transfer $96.93 million from the construction of US 59 interchanges at Del Mar Boulevard, Shiloh, International, Airport, Jackman, and University Boulevard, to the construction of US 59 frontage roads between US 59 and International Boulevard. Yeah, we've had ongoing discussions. Yes, go ahead, please.
Mr. Chairman, I know they're gonna make a presentation, and it's not an action item, but I'm vehemently opposed to this. I don't think there's any way we should do this. We can do the frontage roads in front of where the overpasses are gonna be, but to take $100 million, do all the frontage roads, we will continue to have stoplights for now into the future. Who knows when we'll ever get an overpass built? I mean, it could be, the money comes available right behind it, or it could be, it doesn't come available. So we could be sitting there with, all these traffic lights, and you can see how the traffic's backing up already. So I think they could do it very similar to the way they did Spur 400. You come in and start building the frontage roads in the areas that will accommodate the overpasses.
So use part of it then for those
Well, I mean,
portions?
they're gonna have to do it for the overpass anyway, so it's gonna be part of the overpass project. But, if they've already got the utilities, they can go ahead. If they wanna buy all the right of way, let them buy all the right of way. That's their money, right? They already have those monies dedicated. Let them buy, but you still have the problems with the kitchen and the armory. That's gonna be sometime out, and if we have to move our priority away from that intersection, start with Del Mar, Tammy U, whatever it is. But let's start eliminating some lights.
Commissioner, we've worked really hard on this presentation. I think there's some of the issues that you haven't been made aware of. So if you'd let them give the presentation, I think we're all
I'll
gonna
let
be
them, but I'm just saying,
enlightened.
you're
There's
not-
gonna be,
you're not gonna-
I think, a wow factor in purple smoke, hopefully.
You're
And
not gonna-
I think there's gonna be some issues that you weren't aware of and that they're gonna bring to light here in a moment.
Mayor, we're sensitive to the commissioner's response, and I just asked that you let us proceed, it's not a no action item, we'll go through some
Yeah.
things that we're gonna do.
We asked for a package, maybe they do have a package, they may surprise us. Yeah,
Right.
okay. Yes, sir,
Good
go ahead.
afternoon, Roberto Rodriguez with the Texas Department of Transportation. And we'll be covering a presentation. First of all, I know during the last meeting, you all requested some kind of a status on the project on US 59, the future I-69. First of all, let me talk to you about the construction costs now that were provided to us back. How did we come up with the $96.93 million when you all had requested before, how is this break up, on the funding? This is pretty much a breakdown of the funding to come out with the 96.83. Now, what I do want to emphasize is this money the majority came from category two. This is a text money for the MPOs. It's $17 million.
Those are the discretionary funds that you talk about?
No. This is money that is given to the MPOs based on formula,
okay.
by the
That's fine.
state, by TxDOT. So it's $77.5 million is TxDOT funding. Then you have $12 million that came from a commissioner's discretionary money. Those are from the commissioner. They select the type of projects statewide that will be developed. And we're using $2.4 million out of the CBI funds that we had allocated. Now those $2.43 million, if you remember, they were initially Prop 1 funding, but we have to switch it with the interchange of Loop 20 and I-35, that project that is under construction. We have to switch that funding with the CVI of Prop 1 because we were told by administration that they didn't want to extend that Prop 1 money for too long and we might lose it. So we decided at that time to do the switch on the funding. So with those three fundings, we come with $96.93 million. That's how the funding break up. What I'll do, I'll just a quick summary, and I'm gonna let Ms. Duncan and Mr. Graham, talk about the respective sessions. But right now for environmental, wanna just give a quick.
Hold on, before we run down these rabbit trails, the burning question in my mind is, why does it make more sense to do access roads first and then do the overpass versus?
We're gonna lay that out for you.
Okay.
We'll get to it.
We're gonna lay that out in a thoughtful manner here. If you give us a minute, we'll give you a quick update.
Before we proceed, if you don't mind as well, because I'm gonna start taking pictures here. Can you just send this to us? Can you email it to us?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, as far as the environmental update, we have completed all of the environmental reports with one exception. They've been ready for almost 2 years now. And so we're basically waiting on the 6F report. Now that's the responsibility of Webb County. We're doing whatever we can to help them to expedite that. The main thing that we're doing on that is we have an appraiser on board that can handle the federal level appraisals for both what's taken in the right-of-way that's needed for the project as well as the replacement property. As soon as that is, and we're anticipating probably the end of October, we'll have that appraisal that we can send to the county. That's the last update I had. Then it's up to the county to go ahead and submit that to Texas Parks and Wildlife for their approval. And then it actually goes to National Park Service. I believe somebody in Washington, D.C. actually has to sign off on that. I have no estimate on the time that it takes for that 6F packet to be approved. Now, once that is approved, that's the last item that falls into place for the environmental studies and all of that. Once we get that documentation that it's been approved, then we'll go to public hearing. After that, then we'll have the FONSI. Typically, it takes about 2 months once we've completed all of the studies and we have an approved schematic, not just a final one, but an approved schematic. Then we can go to public hearing. That usually takes about 2 months to organize, find a location, check calendars, do all those kind of things. And then it takes between 3 and 4 months after the public hearing to respond to comments, go through the final reviews. There's some other notifications we have to do, and then we actually get it signed off on by the Environmental Affairs Director.
Okay.
So we're looking at, once we get the 6F matter signed off, once the county provides us to that, it's going to be about 5 months, maybe 6 months before we actually get clearance.
Okay, question.
That's where we're at on that.
So is this proposal, is it to build out contiguous access roads from start to finish, or is it to build out the access roads as it relates to each intersection?
I can answer that. The environmental clearance will include the ultimate roadway.
Sure.
So that's everything. That's frontage roads, that's interchanges, that's bridges, that's everything. The phasing, we've known pretty much all along that we were going to have to phase the construction of that. The environmental clearance will cover whatever we do in the short term, whatever we do in the long term. That's the same approach that we've taken on Cuatro Vientos, Eagle Pass Outer Loop, Del Rio Outer Loop. All the major projects we understand that it's gonna be phased over time.
So your environmental clearance, that needs to take place anyway.
Yes,
Independent of, if you will, or in conjunction with, as the case may be, of how we phase the construction.
correct.
All right.
Because, we need the environmental clearance so we can go ahead and acquire the right-of-way and do the utility adjustments. So it needs to include the entire 7-mile corridor, and it will cover the ultimate configuration.
So, again, you're not wanting to interrupt your flow or anything, but just kind of going back to my burning question, because, if you look at, I guess, the way the McPherson was built out, if you will, it seems like the access roads, correct me if I'm wrong, they went in first,
Correct.
and then the overpass was built, and so a lot of folks maybe they didn't really even feel the overpass construction. I mean, I'm sure there was some impact, but then we go over to Spur 400, where you did the overpass first, and then the access road second, and of course that was just a colossal mess for the entire time that at least in my estimation.
That lays out the two approaches that could be taken. And that gives you a clear sign of what will happen during the construction phase, Spur 400 versus International McPherson. Really, if you think through, and that's what we're gonna concentrate on today. If you think through that.
And that was my argument. I said, you can do it just like you did McPherson and International, but one at a time.
Well, understand, sir.
And that may be the case.
Huh?
And that may be what it comes down to, but ultimately,
Here,
Because,
go ahead. Anyway, that's the update on the environmental.
Because I know you all have all the money, do you have a map showing what
Sure,
you
no,
want to
we'll
do?
go through the schematic and the whole map, so
Well,
we
the
can
up-
go each location independently.
Because really, I'm just more concerned about Del Mar South.
the update that we're giving is pretty much the update on where we are with the project as a whole. And regardless of which route we take, whether we do frontage roads, all these steps need to take place.
Well, how do other communities do it? I mean, isn't there some sort of model? I mean, I realize it's site-specific for the most, it can be site-specific, but I mean, do traffic engineers and civil engineers with projects of this magnitude, do they usually do overpass first, then access roads, or do they usually do?
Roads and you progress to getting to the interchange to have a bridge.
Okay. So,
Well, but there's a difference, okay? Because, if you take 1604 in San Antonio, you start building the frontage roads before, and then as the demand comes, you start building the center lane. Here, we already have the demand. And so we're already backing up at every light. You come at, 6 o'clock in the evening, and it's backed up past the airport, So the demand is already there. It's not like we're trying to catch up. As far as the center lanes where you finally generated enough highway. We already have the highway, and now we make everybody stop on the highway. And that's why you build the overpasses. So like I said, if you build we're talking about frontage roads in front of the overpass, like you did in McPherson, I have no problem, because that's what you gotta do. But if you're just saying, we're gonna build all of it over here, and then sometime in the future, we'll come back and we'll do Del Mar and Jackman and Airport, no, I'm not gonna
I'm
do
gonna
it.
skip the update, we're just gonna go straight to the graphics.
And
That's what you need to see.
I agree with that, and I think most of us would agree with that.
Can we see the graph? Yeah.
Sure, we're just gonna go through the sections, and then.
Because I guess it's
Right now-
confusion on my part, being a layperson, right? Whatever the proposal is, so long as we don't recreate the Spur 400 problem.
It probably would be worse.
So,
The biggest point we need to make is that when we're building these bridges, they are not where the road is right now.
Okay, and
The
this,
alignment we have for the corridor is not right existing
in the middle.
on Loop 20 the way we have it right now.
uh-huh.
It is shifting to the left, to the west. At the next intersection, it's shifting to the right. Halfway through, it's right on it.
So they're not
So when
aligned.
you're trying to build a bridge, you're not gonna build one where you are right now, you're gonna build it where you want it, where you need it, in the final place.
All right.
So in one
Can we
But
see
how
intersection,
did you do McPherson?
Let me go through
I'm
some.
sorry,
How did you do McPherson?
the frontage roads
But I'm
were
just saying,
there.
you built the frontage road, but only for that one section. You didn't build all of Loop 20 frontage road.
No,
Actually,
we did from 35 all the way till we merged at, east of International.
it's so international.
So we can do segments at a time.
What
And
I'm saying,
that may be the
that, and that part I have no problem with.
But the frontage roads have to be the first part.
Yeah.
Yeah, but but you're gonna let it at the same time with the overpass.
Not necessarily. You would do, maybe you would have a frontage roads and then like immediately following, you can have that bridge. I understand where your concern is. You don't wanna see all the frontage roads throughout the entire corridor before you see a bridge. And that
Exactly.
likely will not happen. But what we need to do is we need to program to have frontage roads first. If we put that and program the entire corridor, we're gonna start with wherever we have our right of way first. The airport may not be it for whatever reason. We know we have delays having to coordinate with FAA, and now we find out we have to coordinate with also, TSA, right? Yeah, TSA, and that we're told is actually gonna take longer than with the FAA. We're already coordinating with the UISD for that area. We think that one will impact more on Jacobin. As you go further north, the impacts aren't there.
That's what I'm
as
saying,
much.
so Del Mar, pretty clear right now, no?
If you look at several different ones, we're looking at them all.
Yeah. Well,
Can we focus on Delmar since he's, keeps on bringing it? Do we have a schematic for
Sure, yeah.
Delmar?
And I was just gonna go all the way
You got
from.
Del Mar and you got
Straight to Del Mar.
KMU.
Just go straight to Del Mar.
If that,
Del Mar, the bridge is to the east.
yeah, you're pushing it to the
We're
open
pushing
land.
it to the east.
Okay, so show us
This is Delmar.
what's available now and
Right here,
how it's
this is
gonna
the
change.
existing- This is the existing road, right, on the
Now-
southbound. Now, when we build this bridge, it's actually been built into to the east.
And real quick, one thing to point out, regardless of whether we're building frontage roads or bridge, we need to have enough right of way in this entire corridor to be able to build it. Even if it's just the bridge, because we need to be able to have a span long enough for us to be able to,
Yeah, no, we understand
to
that part.
adjust our utilities.
And
So,
and that's why, if you're gonna do it the way you did McPherson, I have no issues. You're gonna have a section, let's just say it's a mile long, that you need the right of way, and, you're gonna do the frontage roads, and you'll have the frontage roads where they have your entrance ramps, and the frontage road may dead end right there.
right there, you made another point, that's gonna actually contradict what. If we look at the entire corridor, the whole schematic, not every set of ramps is getting on before the interchange and getting off after the interchange.
Okay, well,
Well, in some cases, you're getting off before and on after. How do you build a bridge and those ramps and make the bridge function?
well, like I said,
Let's look at some of the interchanges. I think when we see it on the screen.
well, why don't you, what you need to do, I guess, is break it up into 4 sections, or saying, here's a section.
Sure, there's a section right here, for example, in Del Mar. We're looking at, this is going the southbound, northbound, of course, we're building the
Okay, hold
bridge.
on. Yeah, could you describe the coloring?
This, we use it, the blue line, this is the southbound.
Baby blue? Yeah.
And this is actually, if you look closer, this is the existing Loop 20, it's right here on the bottom. This is what we got on the existing. So the blue one, the southbound, it's the actual existing road right now. So this bridge right now is gonna be built to the east. And this will be a new segment of roadway, the one going northbound. Now, this purple line, I just wanna make it clear, it's a retaining wall. So that means we cannot have entrance ramps or exit ramps before retaining walls. Okay, what we try to show with these green lines too, and these blue ones, is that once we get on Del Mar, we have to create this entrance ramp, okay, to merge this lanes that are coming from the overpass, and then having to take them all the way to in this case, to the left, to go back into the existing road.
If we
Okay.
were to build the bridge.
Now, based on our engineering designs, we cannot have any driveways or any entrance or exit streets on any kind of our connecting ramp. So right now looks pretty short, but it's about 1,600 feet, which that will prevent anyone from having a driveway around this area on the project. We couldn't provide
So
access.
you'll
That's why one of
eliminate the entrance to Alexander.
Correct, that's why
Campus.
one of the restrictions we had before, and we mentioned it last month, is access to these places and these businesses. Just like what happens over here is gonna happen to the Holiday Inn Express, we're gonna have to close the driveway in front of them, because it's gonna be an entrance ramp to be able to merge all the way to the left and bridge the traffic. And in
Is there a
addition-
proposed bridge at Shiloh?
Yeah, it's just north. Now, what's happening here too is, we're gonna have to build these entrance ramps, which in the future we're gonna have to come back and demolish, so we can create the actual ramp that will be placed once the bridge are coming up. Now, over here in Shiloh, this is what we think, may look like in Shiloh. You're bringing people, you're creating an exit to come into the side road, and then you create your lanes going into the main lanes. The same thing, you know, we have to come back, and after passing the intersection, we need to merge all this traffic back into the left. So same thing you see right now, we have an exit ramp proposed right here in our ultimate design, but instead we're building an entrance ramp. That's when we talked about doing construction, spending the money right now, that we're gonna have to be demolishing once we get the money on the frontage road. Now, about 1,600 feet can be, I don't know, maybe 500,000 just to construct it, but there is another 200 to demolish it, to come back with the main lanes and do an exit ramps instead. And now, in some other cases, you know, because we're looking at distances, between Del Mar and University, there is a very short distance.
Hold on, going back, so you're talking about doing it once, doing it right, and not having to build and demo, and then build again.
Correct.
And so from a monetary standpoint, that makes a lot of sense. However, what does that do to the impact on the traveling public when you have to when you build, demo, build again?
Well, that's the traffic control, and that's one of the main things, you know, we talked about before is, if right now we start building on the side of the road, the northbound section is pretty much to the right.
Yeah.
We're gonna have all the construction on the right. We keep the same loop 20 as it is now. When we complete the northbound, now we can split the traffic, and then in the near future, hopefully, we can start building in the middle.
But I think
Just like we
he's
did
asking
with-
if we were to build a bridge and have to make a temporary crossing.
Right.
Is when we try to build as much as we can. A lot of the ramps, we've spaced them away from the interchange, not so close, so that we don't have the same situation that we have like on 35, where you exit a ramp and you're right there.
You have-
need to have room to allow for queuing and all that stuff, so they're spaced away. So if we build just a bridge, we would likely be building a ramp rather close to the interchange, so that we don't have to build all that frontage road at that time. If we do that, then we would be transitioning over, if I can show real quick on this, do you mind? Showing just.
There's less negative impact to the motoring public.
Which, you know,
If you take
No,
all
no,
of that.
it's the same.
And that translates into safety too, Councilman.
Yeah.
That
The
directly
biggest thing, 'cause
translates
now-
to safety.
You're introducing to your traveling public that at this location, you have an on-ramp, and you're gonna be maneuvering to this side.
Mm-hmm.
Later on, when we demolish it, that becomes an off-ramp. Now you gotta train yourself again, you no longer get off there, now you get off at a different location. Now you have to, and that brings up a safety concern. We have drivers that have a very hard time with driving on the roads the way we have them as they are. You start introducing these crazy scenarios, it does make it a lot harder to follow. It's a safety thing.
correct. Now, going back to the issue we had, I mean, we're looking at the engineering wise between Del Mar and University. We don't have the spaces to have an on-ramp and off-ramp. So in this case, and this is what it trends right here, you know, we don't have the space there to cross in the ramps at each other. So we have to get, if people is going to Del Mar, you know, and we build this overpass, they'll have to exit before University so they can stay on the side road. Also, we have to build a side road right here to be able to get all the people from Del Mar, you know. That means they will have to exit in University or probably Jackman and stay on a side road so they can get into Del Mar.
So is there an on-ramp from Del Mar going south?
We do recognize the need for both, so we do have it proposed for both. We have both, when you're on the southbound side, we have both an entrance ramp and an exit ramp between Del Mar and University. We have what is called a graded ramp. The ramp that is going southbound to exit will actually bridge over the on-ramp. So if you see, trying to introduce an isolated bridge and that one ramp, right there alone, you would have to be able to do 2 bridges plus enough frontage road to cover that whole area. So it would be beyond, north of Del Mar, all the way south, almost approaching towards Jackman, to be able to just build a bridge, if that's what you want. You would have to also include all those things. Same thing with like the location at airport. Whenever you do wanna do just the bridge, we won't be able to do just the bridge. You would have to do all the way down to Saunders and again north, approaching to where the school kitchen is. So you still have a very big project there that you have to do because of the fact that we don't have frontage roads south of the airport. So you wouldn't be able to build just a bridge. And the reason that we're proposing and we would wanna see for y'all to put the funding towards the frontage roads, it's not that we're gonna build all the frontage roads at once, it's that the money needs to be there so that we can start as soon as we have the right of way. The plans and everything is already being developed. We already have 4 PS&E consultants on board, and as of August 21st, we have all 4 officially under contract. They're working on updating the schematic because there is stuff that still needs to be updated. The overall drainage was never, has not been finalized.
Let's see, go south from there.
And what we want them to do is start on the PSC for the schematics as well as for the bridges. Let's say like you mentioned, we have in the north, we'll be able to acquire the right of way a lot easier. Then we'll be able to clear a section for utilities a lot easier. And the longer the segment we get, the better we can do. We build those frontage roads. And at every place that we have a proposed interchange, a proposed bridge, we will build the full interchange with the exception of the bridge. So you will have that widened area, you will have a diamond interchange, traffic signals, you will have dual left turns, exclusive right turns, we will be able to widen all the radiuses.
So when do you think the first traffic light will be eliminated from Loop 20?
Well, we're not eliminating traffic lights, remember, because
No, I'm talking about
On the north-south.
when will you eliminate when will somebody be able to drive and skip one traffic light?
Let me run a red. No, well, even
Because we know on frontage roads, there'll be the lights. But I'm saying, when will somebody be able to traverse Loop 20 on the main lanes and miss a traffic light?
I can't give you a date on that, because it depends on.
2030?
Well, I don't know, because we could have a very difficult time acquiring the right of way, even to do frontage roads. We don't know how long this will take. But we can
Well,
shoot and.
you don't have that hard a time. You can eminent domain and
Well, I know,
condemn.
but the process still takes time,
Well-
so as soon as we get.
Well, the
a
process
schedule
just takes, you have to put up the money and they'll tell you how much you owe. Because once you do it, you already own it, right? Isn't that the process?
but
As
with
soon as
some-
you condemn,
No, yes.
you own it.
I understand. With some entities though, it's not as simple as just going in there, like we mentioned already, several entities where we're dealing with other people, not just locally, but, the government and the.
If you will break this down into at least 3 sections and let me see it, maybe you'll change my mind, but at this point, I understand what you're saying.
Well, see, that's the thing is, I don't wanna commit to which one we're doing first.
I didn't ask you to commit. But I asked you to break it into 3 sections at least, and I'll say,
That's actually, that is our goal. to do
Okay,
the
well then do it.
For 3 or 4
No.
sections.
Thank you, Ana.
Be able to do that, and
Thank
then
you.
be able to come back with bridges.
Thank you. A great presentation. I mean, I understand the eminent domain and acquiring a property. I'd like to remind everybody here that while the city did participate $5 million, $5+ million into the right-of-way acquisition, TxDOT is contributing about $219 million of right-of-way to this project that we've allocated. We all talk about eminent domain. One thing to understand that it is a lengthy process as well. If we do go to eminent domain, we're gonna go to a board created of members from the local area. We may end up paying more than what we're asking for right now.
no, I
That is
understand
not
all
a route
that,
I
but what
wanna
I'm
take.
saying, again,
No.
I'm just asking you to break this into several sections where you need, even if the frontage road needs to go for several miles or 2 miles or whatever it may be, and you're saying, I have to do these 2 bridges together with the frontage roads, then fine, put that as one section. But I wanna see the section with the overpass
Right
in it.
now, we just hired, like Ms. Duncan's mentioned, we just hired the consultants to do the PSE. They're updating and refining the schematic. And they will come with those restrictions, saying, you know what? In order to fit this bridge and this ramps, we'll have to build the entire frontage road between these 2 segments.
And
Yeah, and I understand that.
we understand that, but, looking at bottom line, even if we break it down to 3 phases, you're looking at a project that's still not fully funded, and, you're looking at possible tax dollars to put into this project. Our job here is to present you with the most viable solution that's not gonna cost us taxpayers that much money. We're stewards of that money. Now you're asking me to build certain items, what they gave us clear costs of $500,000 for roadway, $200 for ramps. That does not include the time that the contractor's gonna put in there for traffic control, for safety striping, for guardrail. That cost is gonna go on and on. On a project where we're not fully funded, for somebody to come and ask me to build something I'm gonna take down a few months down the road, it just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, we
Well, not
are
a few months, it could be
stewards
years.
of the money.
It can be years and years.
Now, there's certain areas, and I wish this was like the Eagle Pass project, where it's just open range. When we could go in there and build this project, there is no traffic around it. There is shortage of funds there as well. We are doing what we can to try to match some funds with the city. But again, my biggest thing on this one is that we don't have the money to ask us to take additional money that we don't have, build it, and then tear it down again. It doesn't make sense from an engineering
But if you're
standpoint.
talking 500,000 and 200,000, on the scope of $100 million project.
It's not
Well,
that.
that's
It's
per
more
ramp.
than
There's
that.
4
I
ramps-
understand, but
4 ramps per interchange.
And that's
Well-
not the only cost. We still have to look at drainage to see how the drainage would function with that temporary ramp in place.
Mr. Mayor,
There's a lot of things that have not been looked at for that design.
But I was gonna suggest that, yeah, why don't you all meet with the county, because apparently they need, John has suggested maybe 2, 3 sections. Try to
Can't
visit
develop
with them,
alternatives.
and then, see, unless you have something
well,
different.
I have, I guess what we're talking about is conceptually the construction of the frontage roads so that we can, mitigate impact to the traveling public, address safety issues, and reduce costs and time. But doing that in phases, and it's not necessarily one size fits all, it's not contiguous, it's like, okay, all right, we're gonna tackle, Del Mar Boulevard, all right, well, this is I guess your consultants would give us a roadmap on how to get that intersection done. Is that what is that essentially what we're talking about, or we?
Yes.
Correct.
We can't tell you what that is because we don't know which right of way we'll acquire first.
Uh-huh.
We don't know what utilities are underground in some cases, so we don't know how difficult that would be to move them. So even if we do get a certain area of right of way, the utilities could be what delays it.
Right.
If we
Okay.
have a whole but if we have a whole segment where we know, let's say for example, from all the way from Shiloh to University, we get cleared. We wanna go in and build those frontage roads first. And then, if we have a large enough segment, we can go back, move money back to the bridges and build those 2 bridges and complete that segment.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So if you could put it as a segment and say, here it is, I can do all this I can put in Del Mar, all the frontage roads from Shiloh to.
Yes, but we
to
don't
Jack-
have any money in frontage roads right now, if you notice that.
If you let me finish. And you'll say, I can do this whole project for $100 million, we'll say, I'll move the $100 million. So here it is, get that whole section done.
Okay.
Then you can go and say, all right, now we got the other, we got the 2 ends, now we gotta fix. We need another $100 million, we need another $100 million.
Wait,
But-
okay, start from the north. That'll mean starting from the
I
north?
don't care where you start.
Yeah,
Just
most
find
probably
a
the
seg-
north, because.
I would start to wherever you think the right of way is gonna be most easy, because I don't understand why we're here if you got your 200 million already set aside for right of way acquisition. You have nothing ready to go. You're telling me you don't have right of way acquisition yet.
No, we're actually on the right of way, mapping phase. We're
Well,
waiting
I'm
on
just
the-
saying, but you already have your right of way money. So why, once you acquire some right of way, then come back and say, hey, here we are, but I still like to see 2 or 3 sections and say, we'll break it up, because I rather, if I can just get one overpass built at the same time you're building the frontage road. You talk about relieving the traveling public.
Is that doable? Is that something that
Well,
we can take it in segments?
Until we get more, closer in the PSNE designs for the consultants, and we can look
Well, when
at
you get closer, then come back to us.
Closer estimates and
Doesn't
say,
sound
you
like
know
you're
what,
close
this
enough.
is what Shiloh and Delmar may be doing 2 overpasses, and then having to.
Yeah, because you may have to build 2 at the same time, right? You may have to do 2 overpasses at the same time, because it's gonna be in one section, Jose. You have to do Del Mar and Shiloh together, and then you finish that whole segment from Del Mar North, and then it's all done. Okay, that's fine, that's a good project.
And we avoided.
That's $100 million, okay,
We avoided
we'll do
traffic
it.
lights, yeah.
So conceptually, I think there's, an understanding and agreement that what you're suggesting seems, viable mechanically or time-wise, well, how, right? What's your approach, as it gets to that? And it sounds like then that it's premature at this point to, really have a meaningful discussion beyond the concept as to what's needed to be done, but at what point in time, would you be coming back to us saying, hey, look, we want you all as an MPO to, reprogram funds to be
We will
expended?
definitely be coming back to you. We'll make sure that we have the segment of right of way that's already fully acquired, or in the point, where we know it's scheduled to be acquired, and we have the utilities already scheduled to be adjusted, so that we know, because we do have to come early on, we can't wait till the last minute, because we gotta get it on all the funding documents, the TIF, the STIP, and all that before we can let.
But your funds, or TxDOT funds rather, I should say, for right-of-way acquisition, this,
Separate.
$219 million, I think it was the, okay, so, but you already have that money and that's to move utilities, acquire the land, what else can you do with that money?
No, just the right of acquisition, just the acquisition.
So let me ask you this.
You can't move utilities with that money?
Once again, part of it, some of the utilities are reimbursable, so some are not.
If I can summarize what's going on, I think what at least the county, and I think I'm in favor of it as well, is we need completed sections. We can complete the sections, continue on with, even though Shiloh is probably the least priority at this point.
Yeah.
Airport and Jacoma are probably the highest, but we're not ready there, because you're lacking, whatever you all are lacking. So maybe from Shiloh to Del Mar, if we can do that segment and it's complete, and we eliminate these traffic lights. So if you start from 35 to Del Mar, people will have that convenience and then work on the rest. Is that doable? Is that something that we can?
Yeah, we'll have to look at it, Mayor.
Okay.
Either
And then
start
if
from the
it's,
north end or start from the south end, I don't care, whatever you got.
if it's gonna cost too much, let us know, maybe a cost
Segments
comparison
go along
too.
with every bridge, and it's not recommended to do one bridge and another, because there's always gonna be transition points. If you do segments,
We understand that.
so if we minimize the amount of transition points by making sure we have a long enough corridor and then several bridges, then that would make more sense. But to just try to isolate doing the bridges first and then coming back and building out, that's where we see a lot of lost funds. The estimates that we have right now for those bridges do not include the cost of building extra stuff and then tearing it down. The
See,
estimated
that's
cost
what
of our frontage
doesn't
Yeah,
make
but
sense to
I'm-
me, yeah.
do not account for breaking down.
I don't
stuff.
buy it, I'm sorry. I mean, that, if it ends up being $1 million, I mean, those ramps could stay there for years and years and years. It's not like you're gonna say, we're gonna build it today and tear it down 6 weeks from now. You don't know when the next overpass is coming, so that ramp may stay there for 10 years,
Hope not.
Well, that's the problem,
Yeah.
because we don't know when the next overpass is gonna be built. We don't know if any overpass will be built if we do this, because they're winning all their money. So we may not ever get one.
And there's no assurances that
So I
you
said,
can.
you wanna do it in a section with an overpass?
Yeah, there's no
Fine.
financial plan that if we can save by 10 years, 15 years,
What money would be coming, I mean, we know what money is, that we have on a yearly basis based on historical, but this is a very expensive project. I mean, we get balances every year for 8 counties worth of projects, and we get very little mobility funds, and this is a mobility project. So,
Otherwise, we're gonna end up with Mines Road.
Well, what we can tell you for sure is that in every single call for projects and competition and funding calls, that we have on project calls, we're putting these projects all the time.
I'm sorry, I couldn't get.
Okay, what I can tell you for sure is that on every time the administration commissioners, they ask for additional projects that can be available for funding, this project is always there. This project always go to every kind of competing funding anywhere. This
Well, good, let's do it in 3 sections and get it done.
So we always
Okay.
put it in the list.
can you all revisit this and re-examine it?
Don't bring me something without an
In
overpass.
segments, maybe for next time, and see if it's something that you all could get behind.
it'll probably be,
And if not, why? Maybe show cost estimates that it may cost us twice or whatever down the road.
right, if, actually, Mayor, David and I won't be here at the next meeting, we'll be out of town.
Or whenever,
But perhaps the one after that, and that'll give us a little bit more time, but
okay.
yeah.
Is that okay? Yeah.
I think we're just gonna be beating on this thing, and then, we've already turned it down, and they got it back, and we're gonna bring it back again. And
No, no, but
like I
they're-
said, we're not even ready, if you,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
got-
but they're gonna do what you're,
Okay.
what you asked, and so I think in fairness to them, let's see what they can come up with then.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm saying that because I feel the county feels the same way, all members of the county, so on. Okay,
Like,
yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's see, what else do we have? Let's see, status of the text thought on the outer loop alignment study,
They're all.
that's item 5A.
and
We kinda already
I
said
already
it.
mentioned, provided
Okay.
a brief discussion on the outer loop. We have the consultant Jacobs already on board to develop the revising the existing study, making sure we still that the route is still viable. Once we get that, we'll move forward to the schematic.
Okay, this item will be ongoing every
Yes,
month.
sir.
So as you have information,
Of
just,
course,
you don't mind
definitely.
feeding us the information. Okay, do we have any other business for this committee? And if not, is there a motion we adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion, second discussion. Not heard, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against, say no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate it, thank you.